when I started playing, let's say that the extreme scene here existed and started in early 19th, and I have very good friends from that time that started very good bands at that time that could continue growing and perhaps nowadays be a very recognized name in the worldwide scene. But I think that the country has never had clear references to follow and to learn from. Why, for example, a country like Portugal had a band like Moonspell?
Yeah.
Well, Moonspell, for example, is a clear reference. Try to follow in terms of the for a newcomer to say, I want to do what these guys made in the 90s. Well, our references are Barón Rojo, I don't know, heavy metal stuff from the 80s, but not in extreme metal.
Greetings, Legion. Welcome to episode 272 of Into the Necrosphere. My guest this week, making his debut on the podcast, Joan Monguio. Joan is the bassist and vocalist of the Spanish death metal band Jade. Their new album, Mysteries of a Flowery Dream, is out right now on Pulverizer Records. Already notice a lot of you talking about this album. I suspect after this episode, many more of you will do the same. We spoke about the writing and the recording of this new record. We discussed at length the history and the past, present, and future of the Spanish underground scene. We also spoke about some of the other bands that Joan is involved in, including Foscore and Graveyard. We shared and named some of our favorite album covers of all time and much, much more. It is a conversation that I thoroughly enjoyed recording. I'm sure you guys are going to enjoy listening to, and it's coming your way in just a few minutes. But before we get to that, as always, at the beginning of every week's episode of Into the Necrosphere, we need us some unsanctioned filth. This week's entrance into the Hall of Legends, the pantheon of underground heroes known as the Unsanctioned Filth segment on Into the Necrosphere, come to us by way of the United States. They feature amongst their ranks a member of the band Obsidian Shrine. Their name, Storming Heaven, and the track you are about to hear is called Chaos Storms of the War Beast. Chaos Storms of the War Beast by Storming Heaven, your Unsanctioned Filth for this week. Storming Heaven, of course, features K.R. McCoy of the band Obsidian Shrine. If you haven't yet done so, make sure you check out that Dereliction of Divinity Obsidian Shrine EP that came out last year. It is well worth your time. Chaos Storms of the War Beast is a single out now on Bandcamp, along with one other. I'll post the Bandcamp link in the description to the podcast if you want to go and check it out. And if you buy it, then make sure you tell KR that you heard it on Into the Necrosphere and you cannot wait to hear the full length. Friends, if you are new to the podcast, a quick reminder that I am a card-carrying member of the Horsemen of the Podcasting Apocalypse, a stable of content creators guaranteeing you absolutely sensational entertainment from Monday to Sunday. On a Monday, we have Brandon Legion and Horrorwolf 666. Every Tuesday, yours truly casts hexes and slays posers right here on Into the Necrosphere. A few quick updates, podcast related. I'm going to be at Fortress Festival in Scarborough on May the 31st and June the 1st. On June the 1st, as part of the Fortress Forum, I'm going to be doing live podcasts with the photographer Necros Horns, who I've had on the podcast before, and I'm also going to be talking to Frank Allen of Fen. So make sure that you attend both of those. I want to hear screaming, shouting, maybe even some underwear thrown at the stage. I'm also going to be at Beyond the Gates in Bergen, Norway on July the 30th, and that lasts all the way to August the 2nd. A killer lineup that includes the first ever reunion show by the legendary Gehenna. I've got a couple of one-to-ones confirmed for that particular festival. I'll share those once they get done, or at least I'll share that they've been done. So if you don't follow me on social media yet, make sure you follow me on Instagram, Facebook, and X. But looking forward to both of those, and hopefully I get to see a couple of members of the Legion there also. Moving on with the Horseman programming schedule, on a Wednesday, we've got your first double shot of the week. We start with Everything Went Black. That is hosted by Mike Hill. We also have another episode of Iblis Manifestations hosted by Cheyenne. Mike Hill, of course, is of the band Tombs, and Cheyenne is of the band, I was about to say Iblis Manifestations, Trivax. And if you don't have it on your radar yet, make sure that the new Trivax album, The Great Satan, which comes out on Osmos Productions at the end of this month, is very, very much on your watch out list. And then later in the year, we've got the new Tombs album coming out as well. I've heard both. They are absolutely fantastic. So, not only am I fortunate enough to be in the company of, some great podcasters, but equally some very talented musicians. On a Thursday, we've got your second double shot because Mike Hill returns, and he is joined by his co-hosts, the Outlaw Mike Scondado and the Professor Jeff Kashid, for one of my favorite podcasts of the week, Necromaniacs. We also have the first of two installments of Soul Knox, and that is hosted by the Sinister Minister, Carl Ikara. He takes you on a journey through the dark, the weird, the arcane, and the esoteric. The second episode of Soul Knox comes your way on a Sunday, and there you have it, my friends, a free lineup of high-quality entertainment to take you through the vast majority of the week. Make sure when I'm done talking to Joan that you don't go anywhere, because my brother Drew Goth joins me for another weekly news rant, leaving absolutely no posers unslayed as we check out new tracks by Imperialist, Blood Monolith, Inhuman Condition, Abigail Williams, Cryptopsy. We also stack ranked our favorite Crowbar albums. That was by request of L.W. Speakman, a high-ranking member of the Legion. So about an hour and 15 minutes of absolute standard wimp crushing coming your way at the end of the podcast, or the tail end of the podcast, I should say. First, though, sit back and join me as I welcome a new friend and an absolute man's man, Joan of the band Jade. So you are based in Barcelona, correct?
Correct.
Are you guys fully recovered now after the blackouts of last week?
Yes, we absolutely recovered, but there are still many questions to answer from the government and the electric enterprises. There's a lot of messing messages with the sun energy messing with the electric one, and at the same time the government was asking for increasing the how to say that, the armamentistic investment. So everything is like messing messages, crossing ideas, and we have no answer yet what the reasons could be.
Yeah. So asking for more money, as I understand it, to fund the very thing that that caused the blackout in the first place.
Yeah, we have been asked for weeks now to increase the weapons and all the war stuff because of Russia, because of all the shit going on through the world, and it's quite well, it's a casualty, let's say, but we have a blackout and we need to increase the spend on internet. How to say that? On all the computer systems, because we could suffer an attack, hacker attack, or whatever, and at the end is more money for things that people don't need, but we are obligated to buy,
to keep forking over. Yeah. How much disruption did the disruption? Oh, not disruption. How much disruption did the disruption cause? How much disruption did the blackout cause?
It was just for, let's say, not even 24 hours, but it was like suddenly in noon, let's say, and apparently it started at the eastern part of Spain, but then dragged all the rest of the peninsula until Portugal, to Portugal, and it was at first all the energetic connections, but secondary, all the internet connection. So we came back to the primitive dystopia in just 1 hour.
About to say, the cannibals at hour 3, the cannibal gangs began driving around the streets looking for victims.
There were some attack to stores, supermarkets, and shit like that. It was like, seriously, we are living just that kind of shitty film script.
Becoming like Mad Max. Well, dude, it's folks in Europe need to toughen up, because like I said, I mentioned to you I came from South Africa originally. I moved here to the UK in 2002. We have rolling blackouts all the time. It's called load shedding, and it's literally, it's so habitual, like it happens so much or so frequently, that there's an app and the government just announces, right, tomorrow they'll say it's stage 4 load shedding or stage 5 load shedding. Electricity is going to be off from 10 a.m. till 6 p.m. And people have just gotten used to it. But, the havoc that it wreaks from an economic perspective, obviously factories shutting down and everything like that is, it's devastating to the country. So
Absolutely.
You would hope people here in Europe wake up, but I'm not so sure. I mean, you guys are in Spain. They're investing a lot in solar energy. At least you guys have the sun shining there. We're investing a lot in solar energy here as well. The sun shines a couple of weeks out of the year.
Yeah. But here, it seems that we have like a struggle or a battle between the the new energetic. Yes, the sun, the aeolic, the wind energy, etc. Struggling with the typical, the normal one, even from nuclears. And it seems that during the blackout, all nuclears were shut down because of maintenance. And perhaps this is an hypothesis. The difference, the energy coming from the sun and all the wind stuff shut down all the increase they usually do when there is a lack of energy. So the typical and normal energetic line was not enough to cover all the. I don't have
the energy demands.
Exactly, the demands. Yeah. Exactly. But what I don't understand is why it cut all the energy in Spain and Portugal. I mean, we just have one line connecting both countries. It's something that I still don't understand. And this is something that probably we need to improve. And that's why probably both governments are asking people to increase the investments in security and all that stuff.
Yeah, because handing your money to the government has always paid off really well, historically speaking.
A bad management of all these matters are always going to the citizen.
Yeah. Well, it probably re-emphasizes the fact that we need to focus on the good things in life, and one of the very good things in life, of course, is music. I was so impressed with the first singles that you've put out of Mysteries of a Flowery Dream. And as we're recording this, the album is coming out this coming Friday. Excellent. You must be pretty excited. I mean, what's been, aside obviously from my praises, which is the highest accolade imaginable, what's been the response generally to the early singles coming out? What's your sense of the anticipation for the new album?
If I can compare the current situation with, for example, the Pacification of Death, the previous album, I think it's quite similar in terms of the response. I mean, I'm looking to the pre-orders or the movement in terms of views on these videos, etc. And it seems that we are still there. I mean, we haven't decreased or increased the interest on the band, but we are still there. And the response from people that, for example, two weekends ago could watch us on our live debut in Portugal, already playing those new songs, was quite good. During the last year, we have played 2 times in Portugal, and in this past festival called Steel Warrior Rebellion Barroselas Metal Fest, there were a lot of people that knew our live set list coming from the Pacification of Death and even the Sempiternal Bound split, and they were mostly impressed by how well those new songs worked on stage. I'm pretty excited because I don't see the band or the new album as let's say as an evolution, but probably as a consolidation of our own language and how we have managed to cross these 3 foundational styles we are working with. Considering the response I have received until now, I think that we are still going in the good way.
It feels to me when I compare what I've heard of Mysteries of a Flowery Dream to the Pacification of Death, I think consolidation is a good word. I would also say it feels like a refinement. The Pacification of Death is a great album, very ambitious, and we'll talk a bit about your background in a second. But I mean, you're not a stranger to the game. Shall we say. But Mysteries of a Flowery Dream really feels like a step forward in terms of songcraft, where A lot of the fat has been stripped out. A lot of the things that really worked well on the Pacification of Death, you've amped up. I think the deployment of melody is better. I think your vocals sound much more aggressive, and they're much more prominent in the song. So I feel like it's just let's take the lessons you learned from the Pacification of Death and apply it to Mysteries of a Flowery Dream, and the end result speaks for itself.
From my point of view, it's just a natural growth path. I mean, we have had more time to, let's say, arrange the tracks that I compose. The composition process has been absolutely the same since the very first debut EP. I work by myself at home. I start working on a very, not basic, but closing and a structure for the songs. I start working first of all in a guitar melody idea. I don't start working on riffs. I start working on melodies, because I like to set like a leitmotif for each song that could be the element, the main point to recognize each song. That's something that hasn't changed. But then in Mysteries of a Flowery Dream, we have had more time for arranging those songs. I have had more time for working on vocals, on lyrics, and even on the recording process. We spend more time finding the right guitar sound, drums, and then more time on mixing. I think everything works all together, and this more controlled language in a natural way at the end looks, like you say, a more solid piece of music.
Yeah, I mean, as I said to you before we started recording, one of the reasons I wanted to have you on the podcast was I genuinely feel like, hearing the strength of this new material, this feels to me like a record that has the potential to really elevate you guys. And, I thought it would be a great platform to provide you to share your story with people who might not know the band, and help them to discover what it is that you do. One thing I wanted to ask you very quickly before we get into your background, I love the artwork on Mysteries of a Flowery Dream. I think I might even have mentioned it on the news rant. But this, to me, and I might, if you tell me, Jackie, it was actually AI that did that, I'm gonna be devastated. But it looks like a commissioned portrait. Like, it's a really beautiful piece of art. Where did that cover come from? Who did it for you?
We worked again with Adam Burke from the United States. This is a painter from Seattle. We started working with him in the debut EP, Smoking Mirror. But at that time, we didn't have the time for commissioning the artwork. It was like choosing from one of their pieces, of his pieces. But then later on the Pacification of Death, I had very clear that I wanted to continue working with him, but at that time commissioning something related to the album concept, my lyrics, and giving the album a very strong visual approach for the listener. We broke this dynamic with the split sempiternal bond with Sanctuarium, because we agreed to find another artist for having a balance between both bands. But with Mysteries of a Flowery Dream, I needed to recover the line that I wanted to have a sort of trademark in terms of visuals, artwork, production, etc. Because I think that with our resources is the minimum thing that I have close to me for allowing people to understand what we are trying to explain. So Adam, well, I cannot say he's a very talented guy. He's a great painter. I mean, it's one of the best painters I think in probably in the world now. But he's interested in the metal scene, and he works for the metal scene. But for this album, I started crossing some ideas from all the album lyrics and concepts, all the things related to this sort of astral journey related to the pyramid of dreams that Toltecs from Mesoamerica talked about. Then the spider was like I like to cross all the animal world as the Mayans or the Aztecs, etc. did in terms of visuals. And also the spider, for example, has not a specific lyric explaining the story behind, which is the moon goddess, the Ish shell. I thought that has something to connect with this journey, let's say astral or dream ascension from humans, because the spider has the role of a ruler of the wall. The spider and this goddess could create and destroy, at least for this tradition, for this culture. And the spider web is like the umbilical cord that connects this godly world to the earthly level. And I started connecting ideas, and I thought that with Adam as a painter, we could reach a very, very strong visual approach to this scene, this scenario. I like to reflect details or yes, the kind of environment I want the music to move around, and I'm pleased about the result. I just only had to send him an explanation, a written explanation by email, and with the first sketch he sent me, it was like, okay, go on, man, you got it. It's amazing, always the palette of colors he uses, the way he mixes everything in a sort of a foggy world. I don't know. It's this foggy world, this density is something that I think it's also connected with our music. So I think it's the right artist to keep working with.
It's very different. I think that's what I like about it. It stands out a lot from other album art that you see, and frankly, album art across every era. It reminds me a bit of an impressionist painting, and I'll actually edit something. I'll edit the picture into this so that people can see if they're watching this on YouTube. But I was curious. You were quite specific as you were describing there of what you had in your mind's eye. Were you that specific when you gave him a brief on what you wanted done, or was it broad strokes and you kind of wait to see what he comes back to you with?
I remember telling him that the main character in the scene probably will be that spider. That's true in terms of dimension. I remember asking him to have in mind that I wanted not only one but a few, let's say, humans having this kind of ascension, because I wanted to represent this ascension in terms of dreams. And I wanted all the landscape drowned in water, because this moon goddess and spider called Ish shell creates and destroy through water. So I just asked to have this main three elements in mind. Also a cracked landscape, because it has to do with the way the underworld for Mayans are described. All the journey through the Mictlan, which is the journey through, for the dead ones, but at the end, just marking the dimension of the spider, the cracked landscape, the foggy, and probably how luminous I wanted at least one part of the sky to be, was the only thing I told him. The rest, it was like, do what you want, and I trust about your skills, your well, how you control to compose a canvas, because at the end you are the painter. This is as I work with everyone. I mean, when we are going to studio, the engineer is the one who knows how to work with the machines that he has, and the same with the designer, and the same with everybody involved in different album parcels. But with Adam, in terms of cover artwork, yes, I marked something, but he has the freedom to arrange everything and to close the composition.
Yeah. And I think that's always how you get the most out of an artist, is when you give them license to express themselves. I'm possibly misremembering this, but I think it was Sortires of Septic Flesh who I spoke to on the podcast a couple of years ago. And he was talking about basically just providing the artist, and I think Seth is the artist, so it's his brother, but giving him a view of the lyrics and of what he'd been writing, and then Seth just interprets that and turns that into the album art. And I was thinking to myself afterwards how exciting that must be as a creator yourself, having this concept in your head, putting it into music, putting it into lyrics, and then having an artist present you with his interpretation of that.
I have worked in that way with other bands in the past, but probably I'm too much controlling guy. I'm not scared about what, for example, this painter Adam Burke could do, because but I don't know if he would have enough time for digging into my lyrics the way I have take time to make them. I think it's probably quite difficult for someone who paint a lot, but it's not perhaps as familiar as I could be with all the Mesoamerican culture or the Western one. So at the end, if I have to explain what a lyric explains or hides, because it's not as evident as to read it, but I need all to be coherent, I think it's better to at least mark or set the gaming field and work on that, because it helps to make things easier for everybody and close a little bit more the surprise element.
But it still sounds like you're giving him quite a broad brief to go, like, here's what I'm thinking, but he's got room to bring his own idea, his own interpretation into that.
But I think it's more from the skills and the skills as a painter than interpreting the elements I'm trying to work with. I mean, the spider is a spider. I see the spider as a goddess, but perhaps he just worked the spider as a spider. I don't think Adam introduced more levels of reading on this piece that what I'm doing, and at the end it's me who is allowing people to understand what lays behind each element of the cover. So I think it's easier to work that way, in my opinion.
Here's a very important question for you. On how many occasions did you say to him, I want to see more pentagrams and more inverted crosses on the front cover? Like, hey, listen, great job on the front cover, but there's too few pentagrams. Let's work a couple more of those in.
I think I lost track of these elements at the end of the 90s.
Now, here's a question related to that. Favorite album covers, because you've just got me thinking about album covers now. Like, if you had to, off the top of your head, and I always say the ones you think of first, those are your favorites, because they're the ones that are top of mind. So favorite album covers, if you had to pick 5, any genre, it's probably going to be metal, let's be fair, because the album art isn't great for non-metal stuff. But favorite 5 album covers, what would you pick?
Wow. I probably would say one of those how was the main name? The Seagrave, the guy behind the
Dan Seagrave.
Dan, exactly. Sorry, blackout. One of the covers worked by him probably would be in one of these 5 top because it's amazing the way he gets to create some scenario that you can have no music, but imagine something that transcends all imagination.
My favorite one that he did, and this will give you some time to think, because I know I've put you on the spot, but my favorite one that Dan Seagrave did was the Like an Ever-Flowing Stream cover that he did for Dismember, with the 2 gargoyle dragons, and it looks like they're sort of spitting smoke into the skull, and then there's this lava coming out of the skull. Beautiful artwork.
I don't know, Entombed, for example, of course, probably because there were the not the first bands that I was listening, but one of the initial, let's say, bands that could change my mind in terms of inspiration when I was starting playing in bands. I don't know, Necrolord, for example. Let's say the cover for Anthem to the Waking at Dusk for Emperor probably would be among them. Both are from painters, but I could choose other that has nothing to do with painting, but to me are very, very, very singular and unique. Well, I will mention another one that is a classic choice. How was it called? Wow, man, I have a blackout. But the covers for Burzum.
Yeah.
The traditional painter from Norway that has been used by Burzum and for many other bands, of course. But I think it's a great way to describe a whole country and a whole tradition, and to me it was a perfect door for entering all the Norwegian black metal period that I was absolutely amazed by at that time. And I don't know, for example, the cover for Philosophem, to me, with that girl playing that trumpet or whatever in the landscape, to me is absolutely out of this world. So we have 3. There are another very singular, well, it's also a painting one. You know, the Bedouins and the cover for Written in Waters. Which has this kind of figures moving in a very strange way. I don't know why, but probably because this album marked my youth very strong. But this cover also allows me to enter somewhere that I still cannot understand, but touches me very deep. We have 4 covers, and the 4 covers are from painters. So let's choose one. I don't know, man.
Well, I'll give you a couple of mine, and this might get your gears turning. But I would say, again, this is what comes to mind first when I'm posed with that question. Probably my favorite album cover. And it's nostalgia as much as I just think it's a fantastic painting. And I'm going to mispronounce this, but the Les Trésors de Satan by Jean Delville, the Blessed Are the Sick album cover, Morbid Angel. Love it. I just absolutely love it. I remember seeing that for the first time when I was young and just thinking that's one of the most evil but yet beautiful, like mesmerizing album covers that I'd ever seen. I think the Wes Benskoter album cover for Sinister's Diabolical Summoning is absolutely extraordinary. Most of the ones that he did for Broken Hope are really, really good as well. I'll always have a real special place for Metallica's Master of Puppets album cover.
I was about to say this one too. I remember having in my room when at that time a big flag from the Incomplete album from Obituary. Again, look what I say, but I was describing the current new Jade album with a cracked landscape, whatever. There is a very strong connection with that cover because of this kind of cracked landscape. It's something that still remains in my mind from if I'm not wrong, that album is from 1992.
It's 92 or 93. I think it's actually 93 because Cause of Death I think was 1992.
Okay. And World Demise would be then 1995 perhaps or 6.
World Demise I think is 94 or 95.
Well, the Incomplete to me, the cover of that album is one of my favorite ones because of, I don't know, it catched me at that time. I don't know, but look at this. I mean, I'm always talking about painters or something did by painters. I wanted to choose some cover made in digital for later periods of.
To say you haven't chosen any made by ChatGPT. No. What's going on?
No. And
another favorite of mine, Dawn of Possession, by Malation. I think it's a cover that sets the tone for the record so well. And then another one that I really love, that I think is as confrontational as the record itself, None So Vile by Cryptopsy. The album cover for that record to me is just magnificent. I love it. Have I said 5? If I had to go with one that's non-digital, I really, really like, not non-digital, but not really a painting as such. I really like the album cover for Covenant. Again, to me, that's just an album cover that makes such a statement.
I love this cover, but I don't know if I love this cover because I love this album, or because thinking on I don't know, the elements appearing there, the composition, it's really catching and touching, but I don't know. Perhaps I will always go more for the painters than photography or whatever. And think that with one of my other past bands, not past bands, but my other bands, I have always tried to work with photography, for example, because that's because the music I wanted to explain through visuals. I thought that was better explained by photography than painting. But I don't know.
Well, it's a very good segue into what I wanted to talk to you about next. And you mean I mentioned before, you've been very prolific in the Spanish metal scene. On Metal Archives, your active bands listed are Dawn of Hate, Foscor, Melangia. Of course, you've got Jade, but you've also been in Cabestro, Lucifugium, Lux Divina. So you've been making music for quite a long time. How old were you when you started to play music? When you picked up a guitar or when you picked up a bass?
1995. It was my first demo release with a band that is not featured here in Metal Archives, but it was like a very shitty demo, crossing elements with no sense. But it was my first real approach to a recording process, etc. After that, I joined the band called Lux Divina at the end of the 90s, and I was playing there the keyboards. That was a band playing a sort of pagan black metal stuff, like the first Ulver albums or Borgnagar or this kind of stuff. Then after that, I played in Lucifugum. Both bands are not longer existing, but I think both allowed me to start discovering how the scene of where I live worked. And how to start moving a band internationally. Then at the end of 19s, I started working with Fourscore, which was and has been and still is probably the main band in my life, with a very, I don't know how to say that, strange, not, but a real evolution in terms of sound. We started playing black metal, then we jumped more into an avant-garde approach to this kind of Norwegian black metal. Then started working on more progressive is not the word, but transcending the language and trying to find something different. And well, our last album was from 2019, released by Season of Mist, but the pandemic crushed all the plans, and that this band nowadays is like in a silent mode for at least until we could find the spark for recording a new album. And if you think on well, and in between, from 2013, I've also been singing with the death metal band Graveyard. So I've been there for more than 10 years and playing a lot in Europe. So all of them have allowed me to learn a lot of things about how moving a band, and how to work in a band, and how to enjoy music from doing things the more professional way possible. And Jade now could be the summary of all these lessons learned since the mid-90s, and probably not only the summary of all these things, trying to work in the most efficient and productive way possible, mainly because 3 of the 4 members are parents, and we have other daily duties to have in mind. But also because it's like Jade is like a summary in terms of all this music I started listening and try to develop with these different bands in different moments. And I needed to recover the role of composer with a band, and trying again to have all the control in every initial step of working in a band. And Jade came to me as a need, something that I needed to recover not the good vibes, because I had very good vibes with all those other bands, but make things the easier way possible. And from the summary of all my career in terms of listening music, and all my career in terms of lessons and of how working on a band, I think Jade is like the last step. I don't know if it's the last one, but of course it's the most recent one, but summarizing all many years of being behind the band.
Many years of many lessons.
Yeah, many lessons.
So you've highlighted, you've had all these bands that you've started. Some have ceased to be active. Some are still ongoing. But it feels to me like there's also within that, there has to be something that drives you to continue trying, right? Because there's obviously within that journey, there's a lot of fallen bands, a lot of failures by the wayside. Mm-hmm. What were the biggest lessons that you took away from some of those bands that didn't work out, and what kept you motivated to keep trying, keep making music, keep doing what you're doing? Because I think one of the things that really stands out about Jade is that there's so much passion and so much love in what you've done there. Like it feels like, to your point, it's a lifelong endeavor that you can hear summarized on the music, particularly on this new album.
You said the word is a matter of passion. I have had many failures in terms of struggling a lot to try to take those bands not to a specific level or place, but to a situation or a place where as much doors as possible could be opened to play out there, to keep releasing albums, to know people. I love to share all the music experience with people. To be here with you now talking about our music, to me, is a privilege, and I'm so thankful about that. But yes, it's a matter of passion. I think I have learned how to make things easier and way more efficient than I did in the past. Dealing with other members sometimes is perfect, but a good group of people around who could have common interests, and I think now, after 25 years or whatever, the people behind Jade are all this kind of obsessive music lovers that still need to create themselves, to share things one with each other, and to live experiences. It's everything. It's all about this, which is the main engine that makes someone to want to keep playing an instrument and to spend a lot of hours at home or writing or whatever. To express myself, I need to express myself, and I think that I control way better the artistic music channel than sometimes speaking to others, writing or whatever. So Jade is the last step, or the last creative period. Perhaps it's a summary of previous experiences, but I feel myself very close to that guy in the end of the 90s, starting to play in bands and starting to asking himself how to move the stuff for opening doors. And I think I'm doing the same, because the doors are infinite, and opportunities can be found around every corner. But what I want is to as much things I could take with me to the tomb, the better is.
Yeah. Tell me more about the Spanish scene, as somebody who's been in the scene for as long as you've been, because I feel like it's a country that is overlooked sometimes for the sheer volume of great bands that come out of Spain. I mean, off the top of my head, you've got Titan Blood, you've got Wormed, you've got Avulsed, you've got Graveyard, as you mentioned, you're in them. You've got Noctum, you've got Aversio Humanitatis. You've got a ton of great bands out of Spain, but you never really hear people talk about Spain as having this metal scene, this definitive metal scene, in the way people will refer to the Polish metal scene, the Australian metal scene, USBM, Norwegian black metal, what have you. But there's a lot of bands in Spain, and I mean, anytime that you go to a big band where you've got a lot of people from a lot of different countries and a lot of different backgrounds coming to see them, I've seen Metallica surrounded by guys from Portugal and Spain. I mean, you guys really get into it.
Yeah, this is a topic that I have been talking about for I don't know, for 2 decades probably. When I started playing, let's say that the extreme scene here existed and started in early 19th, and I have very good friends from that time that started very good bands at that time that could continue growing and perhaps nowadays be a very recognized name in the worldwide scene. But I think that the country has never had clear references to follow and to learn from. Why, for example, a country like Portugal had a band like Moonspell?
Yeah,
Moonspell, for example, is a clear reference. Try to follow in terms of the for a newcomer to say, I want to do what these guys made in the 90s. Well, our references are Barón Rojo, I don't know, heavy metal stuff from the 80s, but not in extreme metal. And also, we have had, as you say, and still have many good bands. There hasn't been. Perhaps we arrived later to the match. Not in many aspects, not only in terms of bands, in terms of press, infrastructure, promoters, all the stuff that composes an industry. And I don't know, for example, France had from the 19th working from each town with associations promoting concerts and giving opportunity to every fucking band appearing from under each stone. We haven't had the infrastructure, we haven't had the connection among all these different agents that could or should compose a scene. And probably when a band has appeared and had enough, I don't know, a good product to be sold out there, it hasn't been until, let's say, 10 years ago when some international labels has seen Spain as a reliable place with bands that can work out and know how to work out things. The country hasn't improved in any way. I don't know if it's a matter of experience or references or whatever, but I've been talking with many of my partners here in whole Spain many times and in different moments. People asking how do you do that for moving your band out there, to me or to other people that were close to me and had the opportunity to release an album with a foreign label, let's say 15 years ago or 20 years ago. But I don't know why there hasn't been enough wise in those guys for advancing, anticipating things the way other countries did. Nowadays, I think everybody knows how things has to be done. I don't know, working on a band, creating content, visual content, moving yourself, spending time on rehearsing and spending time on trying to book a small tour every year to reach new places and make the virus be spread around. But during many years, perhaps decades, it was something that never happened. All the bands were bands from the rehearsal room and then playing some shows, be drunk as much as possible, and that's it. But never had this. The changing point, I think, is the word professionality.
Well, actually, as I'm listening to you talk, I almost feel like it's Spain has never quite had that flagship band. If you think about, if we say Greece, immediately we think of Rotten Christ. We think of Portugal. You just pointed out Moonspell. If we think of Norway, I mean, there's any number of bands that you can reference there, but let's be true and let's say Mayhem. They are the flagship band. But there's in all of the countries, that have those very defined scenes and scenes where people talk specifically about the Finnish scene or whatever the case may be, there is a flagship band, and that's almost a band where the phrase of high tide raises all ships comes into play, because a lot of bands, I think, that have come from Greece that have gotten recognition in the wake of Rotten Christ, as an example, they've been on tour with Rotten Christ. Rotten Christ has helped to elevate them. That's not necessarily come from Spain. If you think about the Spanish landscape, who do you think could potentially either have been or should be regarded as the flagship extreme metal band from Spain
nowadays? In
Jade.
terms of extreme metal, I think it will be amazing. No, I think Titan Blood it should be the guiding flag, at least for the last 10 years. And probably they wouldn't like to be, but I think they are the reference, the guide for many newcomer bands. Let's say 20 years ago or 15 years ago, there were a band called Machetazo that I think it was this kind of reference band here in terms of extreme music, but they split up and the band was like another band from the past. Nowadays,
they just lost potential.
Yeah, lost potential. Hemorrhage, for example, is a band that has always been there for many years, but I don't feel they are like perhaps there could be a reference, but there are not all the are not as linked to the scene as I think these other bands in Norway, in Sweden, in Poland, in whatever were with the rest of scene. I mean, we have been here fighting our own battles, and at least what I have seen. Let's say Abused, Hemorrhage, that guys of Machetazo, etc. Nowadays, I think things have changed quite a lot, because there is a real feeling or sense of scene, not in terms of describing a unique or a main music style, because it's not like this. We have a lot of bands playing very different stuff, but as everybody knows each other and we are always collaborating with each other if we need help for whatever. I mean, I have been playing bass for a black metal band called Balmog for 4 shows, and they are living in the other side of Spain, but we are very good friends. So this is something that changed a lot during, let's say, 15 years, and now I think makes the Spanish scene a strong one that could reach other levels, or at least be there, like in other countries. Otherwise, but we don't have this kind of reference flag or from the 19th mainly. When all the pioneers in each style appeared. In doom metal, death metal. Well, death metal came from back the 80s, but yes, I think 19th were the seed for everything we are living now, in terms of extreme music. And sadly, we didn't have this.
Yeah, it's that sort of flagship band, that band exactly. that kind of underpins the entire scene. I think part of it as well, again, and my gears are turning as we're talking about this. I think part of it as well are the characters that are in those bands. You had a guy in Sakis with Rotting Christ, or you have a guy in Sakis, you shouldn't talk about him in the past tense, who is very, he's great with the press, he's a great character, and he engages fans and the media, and he has a very loyal following all on his own. Fernando Ribeiro is exactly the same. And again, you go down the list. Some of the flagship folk I'm probably not a big fan of. The band you would argue is the flagship band out of Poland. I can't stand the sight of their front man, but it's there's some that I like more than I like others. But you understand what I mean. There's that figurehead and that personality that is one of the hooks into that band. Hemorrhage is an interesting one, because I've known about them for years as well. But they've always been like, the underground. They're like in the underground of the underground. There's like only a select few people that know about them.
But I think that all these people started being probably the same shitty people that covered all the world in the 19th, because everybody was like a youngster rock star trying to kill everybody and to crush everything, and with no manners. But at that time, all the world was permeable for something that was happening and never occurred before. Nowadays, all these people has built the industry and the scene along labels, press, etc. I think I'm lucky to be here after all these years and have had the chance of dealing with some of these people and learning from them, and from my humble position, What I try with a humble band like Jade is applying at least this word that I was telling before, the professionality in the way I like to move and try to move my band. I think I love underground. I love the spirit there, the passion there. But if you want to work things out, you need to be at least serious in what you do and have some skills, as you said, in terms of socialization, networking, whatever. I think I like to be there. I like to meet people. I like to share things. Perhaps here in Spain, although people could think that we are very joyful people, I think this is something that hasn't happened for many years.
Maybe that's the problem with Spain. People think because the weather is too good, food's great, the weather's good, and the women are beautiful. What do these guys have to be pissed off about? Now that we've established you as a leading figurehead in the Spanish extreme music scene with your appearance on Into the Necrosphere, what are the plans for Jade once this record comes out? Have you any touring plans? Because this definitely feels like a record that you need to get out to more people than just the folks in the local scene.
We will try, but you know that sometimes it depends on not only in the contact you have, but the resources accompanying you in the journey. I mean, with Jade, in difference, for example, with Foscor, we are not working with a booking agent, for example. We have a press agency for the promotional period we are living now for the album, of course. We are working with True Shot Works, as always we have done. But we are not working with a booking agent. So I'm booking everything by myself, and it has its limits. I know many people, I can knock many doors, but when you try to reach another step, if you are not working with someone, it's way more difficult to find the opportunity or the spot. But it's something natural. I mean, it's not. I'm not complaining about anything. I mean, I know how it works, and I know where are the limits that perhaps I could aspire to reach, let's say. Anyway, within the next 6 months, we will play the same amount of shows that we have played during the last 2 years since we started playing live in 2023. So the good part of working with Pulverized Records, one of the good parts, I see all good things in working with them, is that we can planify things at least with 1 year in advance. And for example, 1 year ago, I knew that around April, May, we will be releasing a new album. So I started working and planning and knocking some doors, let's say 6 months ago, in terms of booking shows. And the fruits are coming. So now, we debuted live 2 weeks ago with 2 shows. In 2 weeks, we are going to play 3 shows in France. Then we have a couple of shows here in Barcelona. And in September, we are finishing the booking of a 10 to 12 shows tour, which should will lead us to Germany mainly. But we will visit France, Netherlands, perhaps Belgium, and mainly Germany. And around that, we are now also closing the release of something new that we have remaining from the recording sessions from Mysteries of a Flowery Dream, a split release with a brand new song, of course, that could accompany us in this tour. So we are busy at least for the rest of the year, and probably when all the release period and promotional period maybe overcome, and I could also close some topics and themes from job, because my daily job now is a bit messed up, and I'm dealing with many fronts, too much fronts. When I think that probably in summer or so, I will start working on 2026 schedule.
Why are you guys not signed to a booking agent? Is that by choice that you choose to work without one?
Seriously, I haven't asked directly to the ones I know. It's true, but I know that this kind of agreements or collaboration, etc., must be done in person. And also, we started working with a friend of us working in a let's say booking agency, small booking agency called Absurde Rituale from Germany. For different reasons, it couldn't happen, and well, at that time I thought that let's continue working step by step. Let's build a strong music product, at least from our side. Let's try to use all the contacts that I have, and I think it's working quite well, and I still have path to walk in that sense. But perhaps with this album, I think that we have something strong enough for knocking that doors that I haven't knocked before, and then ask, but for a next period, for a next album cycle. At least is what I have in mind. Perhaps it's wrong. Perhaps I'm losing opportunities, but I wanted to make things easier in terms of. This is what I already know. People I already know that I could trust in. So let's work in that way, and with a strong album after 2 full lengths, 2 EPs, and 3 years playing live. I think the band can be already considered as a serious effort. What I wanted is to start building this consciousness of us, and then try to make the jump to another thing.
Well, I think there's absolutely no question that people are going to take this seriously when they hear the album. I could very easily see you guys fitting in on the roster for Parasite Gallows, for Death Over Rome, for Dragon Productions. So I think, yeah, I almost feel like in some ways, again, unless I'm misreading what you're saying, I feel like you're almost underselling yourself a little bit. But that's, again, it's belief from my side in the material. But I want to say thank you so much for your time, my man. It's been a pleasure catching up with you. I wish you all the very best for this new album. I'll certainly do everything that I can to make sure that people know about it. We're going to do something a little bit different. Normally, I just sign off at this point, but I'm going to let you choose the song that I sign off with. Choose the song off of Mysteries of a Flowery Dream, and why in particular you want the Legion to hear that track.
Well, first of all, let me again say thanks a lot for having me and having our band here in your show. It's been to me a pleasure to share this time with you, and thanks for trusting in us and wishing to give us this opportunity to explain a little bit more our reality. It's been a pleasure, first of all. And then choosing one song, I will choose the Darkness in Movement song, which is the one previous to the end of the album. Why? Because it describes lyrically that place where you reaches the highest level of ascension in terms of dreams. So it was conceived, the song itself, although it's not the last one of the album, it was conceived as a very highlight moment in the album, in terms of intensity, in terms of concept. And yes, in terms of music, I think it's one of the 2 very intense moments of the albums, because to me mixes all these references from death metal, doom, and even black metal in a very solid way, perhaps mixing all of them with no clear significance of one of each other. It's a very solid song. I feel so proud about it. And we are already playing it on stage, and I love it to play it. So I think it's a right choice.
Fantastic. Well, firstly, my absolute pleasure giving you guys the platform. Secondly, hope everybody enjoys the song, and I certainly hope that you and I bump into each other again down the road. Maybe even in England, we might do one of these in person at some point.
It will be amazing. We already played there in 2 years ago, and I would love to come back. So I will hope. I'm looking forward to see you there in person and say thanks and hug you again. Okay.
Awesome. Thank you very much, brother.
Thank you very much, Jackie.
Light's Blood by Jade off their sophomore album, Mysteries of a Flowery Dream. You heard the vocalist, Joan, in action on the hour-long interview that we just did. I want to say a big thank you to him. What a nice guy. So humble, so down to earth, but, you know, I loved the insight that he was able to bring to the table about the Spanish scene. I think that our views on a lot of things are definitely aligned, and I know I don't think I'm speaking out of school when I say he was a bit nervous about being on the show because English is not his first language, but I think he gave a fantastic account of himself, and he's welcome back to the podcast anytime that he wants. So massive thank you to him. Make sure you support Jade if you like what you just heard. Both their albums are fantastic. I personally think that this band should be way bigger than they already are, and I don't think that it's outside the realms of possibilities either that should happen. But time will tell. In the meantime, check out the new record. Go to Bandcamp. If you buy yourself any music, then tell them who it was who sent you. Many of you have been asking me to start doing an album of the month segment on the podcast, and frankly, I haven't had the chance to really think about what that might look like and whatnot, but I did want to talk to you guys about an album that I do really like and that I back, and I think you guys should check out too. Cult of Azura is the name of the record, and it is the third full-length by a band out of Lyon, France called Scaphos. We discovered them on the Weekly News Rant a couple of weeks ago. Probably one of the best signings by Transcending Obscurity Records in quite some time. I've got my own side view on Transcending Obscurity's volume game, shall we say. But be that as it may, Scaphos is a band you definitely need to check out. The song that you're about to hear is a track called Abyssal Tower. Scaphos with their new album Cult of Azura, and you heard the track Abyssal Tower. It's out now on Transcending Obscurity Records. If I were to do an album of the month, this would definitely be a contender for May. Absolutely a record that I vouch for, recommend you check out, and I think is top notch. Link, as always, in the description to the podcast. Head over there, or head over to their Bandcamp and show them the appropriate amount of Legion love. Right now, my friends, and particularly because I've got the mighty Drew Goth backing me up this week, if you're the kind of soy-sipping wimp who gets excited about another year's edition of Eurovision, and even worse, feel like you need to post about it on Facebook, then it's time for you to hit the bricks, because this is my weekly news rant.
Round them up for judgment. And hang them where the world can see.
All right, my man, welcome back to the podcast. Before we start on anything, you've been a busy boy once again. Obviously, we debuted Death Horde on the podcast a couple of weeks ago, and I know you've got a bunch of other stuff going on in the background. What's the state of the union right now in your world?
Yeah, thanks for dropping that Death Horde song. That was really cool.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Great. By the way, great response for that as well.
Oh, that's good. That's good. Yeah, when we're only on Bandcamp, we're not on Spotify or any of that other stuff. So that's very good. Had, quite good feedback. But most importantly, it's just something Shog and I want to do. So, but no, I appreciate you premiering that track. And yeah, what else have I got going on? Doing a Drugoth album. All the drums are done. 6 out of the 10 songs are recorded on guitar. We should be finishing that up soon. And there's a Shograth album that we're working on. The Spells of Torment album should drop soon. I'm working on a EP with the Sinister Minister himself, Carl, for Antichrist Blood Scourge.
I've heard some of that. Very, very cool.
Oh, cool. Yeah, no, thank you. Yeah, no, Carl, it's good that he's pulling his finger out and getting back into his music. He was telling me he hasn't done anything in 10 years or something. So, he's one of those guys where he should be doing stuff instead of just sitting idle in the shadows. And what else? Yeah, working on more Death Horde. And Nathan and I are working on a project which I think you'll really enjoy. It was an ordeal for me to do the drums for that. Everything that could have gone wrong sort of went wrong, but it's all good. I've done the drums for that, just a rough demo for him to fiddle around with and line it all up with his guitars, and yeah, that should be pretty cool. I don't know when. It's kind of one of those projects where we're both very busy, so whenever we both get time here and there, we work on it, but no idea when that's sort of meant to be out. But I'm sure when it is, you'll know about it.
But between Drugoth, Death Horde, Spells of Torment, the Antichrist Blood Scourge, and the project you've got with Nathan, that's potentially 5 releases for you in a year. I think that's a new PB, mate.
Yeah, maybe. Depends if it all comes out in this 1 year. And then then the Shograth album. That's one
which you'd feature on as well, so that's 6.
Yeah. So I would say definitely Drugoth and Shograth album this year and Spells, but everything else is kind of out of my control. But hopefully that'll be cool. Yeah.
Everything else depends on whether they can work to your pace.
Nah, not me. Oh, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. I sort of just do my bit and then help out here and there if they need it, and we just see what happens. Everything seems to always happen at once.
We'll get into I want to talk to you about the Drugoth album in a second, but let's listen to our first track. So, as always, friends, we're on metalstorm.net. The first song we're going to be checking out, Honoric, Night of Nights song has been unveiled. Portugal black metal band Honoric have put out Night of Nights. This is the second single and newest extract from their upcoming long player, Curling Serpents Under Stone. What's your verdict?
The bass was cool. The vocals I didn't mind, but not my cup of tea. You know.
Yeah.
I like it. It's good for what it is, but what it isn't what I like. So
I think it's very telling that these guys started in 2002, because I think you can draw a direct line to their influences, and their influences are the Pussy era of black metal, which is kind of the mid to late 90s when things briefly went off the rails. If I were the producer, I would have turned down that lead guitar channel all the way to zero. That just noodling all over the place. It sounds pointless. Doesn't embellish the song at all, doesn't make it sound any more atmospheric, or any more impactful in any way, whether you want to look at it in terms of aggression or in terms of even anything emotional. It just doesn't add anything. It feels like it's just pointless. It's just thrown in there because someone in the band insisted that it go in there. I agree with you. I think the vocals are okay, and I don't mind the keyboard in the background. It feels to me like there's a grain of a good idea here. But overall, it's this band is now 6 albums into a career. You would imagine if they were going to be anything worth anything, it would show in this song. But I kind of feel like if somebody told me this was a brand new band and this was their first release, like their first demo, I would have gone, yeah, I get it. There's some work to be done here, but they've got potential. But these are salty dogs, so for me, it's a pass as well.
Yeah, no, that I didn't really. I don't know, keyboard sort of stuff. Not my thing. But unless it's done really, really well, I guess. But yeah, nah, not for me.
There are a couple of keyboard stuff that you like, though. You're. I mean, I know you're a Dimmu Borgir fan, are you not?
To an extent, yeah.
Yeah.
Like I don't mind it, but I probably couldn't listen to a full album of it without being
Yeah.
like, all right, what else is going on? You know what I mean? Although,
Yeah.
so Carl, he's started doing a little bit of that in like Antichrist Blood Scourge, like that I like because it's still very dark, and menacing. It's not like that last thing we just listened to. Like that sounded too jolly for my liking. I need
It kind of has a part towards
you
the
know,
end of the sequence that we heard as well that almost starts to sound a little bit happy, which I was like,
yeah,
no, this is where I draw the line.
yeah, no, not for me.
It's not quite ecstatic black metal because nothing is worse than that. But yeah, again, as I said, obviously we only heard 2 minutes. Based on the 2 minutes, I'd say maybe a 4 out of 10. So. Okay, let's move on to Imperialist. They've put out a brand new song called Starstorm. Black metal formation Imperialist proudly reveals a brand new single entitled Starstorm. It serves as the first taste of their newly announced third long player, Prime. The latter will be released through Transcending Obscurity Records later this year. It was recorded and produced by Charles Elliott, mixed and mastered by Dan Swano. So they've got some heavyweights working on it. Fun fact, by the way, on Imperialist, I found out about them the exact same day that I found out about Drugoth, and that was courtesy of our mutual friend Kelly T. It's when she came on to do the top 10 countdown one year. I think it's like the second year that I did it. And she loved this band. And she also told me about this black metal band out of Australia that's really raw, does black metal from does like Tolkien-inspired black metal, but from the perspective of the orcs. And that's how I found out about Drugoth.
Small world, small world. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, cheers, Kelly.
Do you still speak to her?
Yeah, here and there.
Yeah.
Like Matt and I, we have phone calls here and there, just shoot the shit, and sometimes I hear in the background like chuckling or whatnot. But no, she's I told her once, I was like, she's got to bring back the Kelly T reviews, and I used to love that shit. And then even the video reviews as well, she used to do on YouTube. I used to love that. That's how I found a lot of cool bands as well.
Mm. Well, shout out to her. She is doing her Kelly T promotion stuff. So if you're in Australia, particularly if you're in Sydney, you can go and check out Invocation Rituals 2, which gets I think that happens on July the 5th at the factory floor in Sydney. Are you going to be there?
No, I'm not. I despise Sydney. The only reason I would ever go there is there's two reasons. One was if Crowbar was touring Australia, I would do the entire tour with them, which I did in 2019, and that was the only time I would ever go to Sydney. That, and if Abath would do a Australia tour, same thing. I would do the entire tour. But that was the last time I was in Sydney. No, not a fan. But Kelly on the show that she's putting on, she was really kind and asked Death Horde to play on that show because we want to play live shows, and she hadn't even heard the record or anything. She just being a G reached out and was like, the spot's yours if you want it. But it was kind of not the right timing, and Sydney sucks. So
just out of curiosity, why do you not like Sydney?
I went there. There used to be this like hardcore festival called Hardcore, and I went there. Terra were headlining it. There was a heap of cool Australian bands on the lineup, and I don't know, it was just a fucking punish of a time. Like the shows were good, but I don't know, just people down there were just rude. Like the weather was shit. The only good thing about it was the show. And I found like this weird. It's very well known. I don't know what they call it, but it's like this big sort of flea market thing. And we went there, and I bought an awesome do-rag, and I just wore it the entire weekend. So I was moshing to Terra in a do-rag. It was fucking sick. But yeah, I don't know. The weather was shit. The people were shit. The food was shit. Not my thing.
Not your scene.
Too many people. But yeah,
Just to close the loop on the Invocation Rituals show, so anyone who doesn't know, some of the bands that she's got on the bill: Lord Chaos, Cerathian Dawn, Slaughter Cult, Infested Entrails, Deiformity. I know Slaughter Cult and Infested Entrails. I know Lord Chaos. So some fucking badass bands on there. And just a final comment on her. I totally agree with you. She should bring back those reviews. There's too many fucking pretenders on YouTube doing similar stuff. She actually did introduce new bands. And what I like is, and I think this is why she and I got on very well, similar mindset to me. She really will get behind bands that she believes in. And I think that she used the exposure from her platform to promote smaller bands, including Drugoth. So, to me, that's the way to do it. All right. To be continued, but let's listen to this new Imperialist track before we do anything else. Thoughts? You don't like it?
Nah, not really. The vocals, yeah. Not a fan. Sorry, fellas.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna differ with you there. I do quite like it. You are not alone, by the way, in not necessarily liking it. For some reason, they're not particularly popular on Metal Archives. So first album Cypher 60%. Zenith 68%. In fairness, it's one review on each, in each instance, but still. I think sound wise, it kind of reminds me of 9 Equilibrium era Emperor, with a bit of a cosmic bent to it. I think there is a very catchy hook, particularly in that bridge, but generally speaking, I like what they do with melody, and I like the way that they've constructed the song. If you listened to their previous album, Zenith, this is very much aligned to that. I think the only criticism, and it's a very minor criticism for me, I would have loved some more variation in the drumming. I don't know whether that's due to the performance, whether that's due to the production. Don't know whether the direction was, keep it, straightforward and simple. But I tend to like simple drumming is good when it is played with, when there's like a degree of feel to the way that it's played, right? Like your drum style, like I said to you, you genuinely are, and this is the biggest compliment I could possibly give you. You are the Phil Rudd of black metal, but you've got there's so much feeling and so much, just kind of naked aggression in the way that you play. Even when you play something simple, it really, really stands out. I find with modern recording techniques in particular, when it's too simplified, it feels just like it's it almost feels like it's pasted onto the track. I don't know if what I've just said there makes sense, but that's, it never feels to me like it's completely part of the song. It feels like it was just, it could very easily have been taken from a drum program or whatever the case may be and just added into the song. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, yeah, thanks for the compliment. I appreciate it. Personally, I just try to, I don't know, put a signature on it, and that's for me. That's doing extreme metal or extreme music with only a single kick. You know what I mean? Not using a double kick. So already, I think it's unusual, but I don't know. I'm a very spiteful person, so I do it purely out of spite. But yeah, I know what you mean. Like sometimes, yeah, it's a strange sort of predicament. I think I was talking to someone about this the other day. I think I was talking to Matt Prizzo. But I think the difference is because he's a drummer as well, and he's a guitarist and he's a vocalist. But more importantly, he's a musician. Like he writes and composes entire songs. So when some in a part where the drums are simplistic, it's because it's trying to make something else shine a little bit more, like to be more at the forefront, which I understand, but I'm not sure. I don't know. I just write what I think fits best for the song. And, sometimes, well, I was very inspired by Vinnie Paul growing up, and sometimes he would have just a real simple groove going underneath a chaotic riff, and it just makes the riff stand out more. But
I am very glad to hear you say that as well, because Vinnie Paul, in my view, is easily, I mean, it's not even fucking up for debate. He is easily in my top 5 favorite drummers. The feel that he played with, and how unique some of the lines were that he played, the way that he would, like his drumming would in a very subtle way really accentuate certain parts of the song. Like, I've mentioned this before, but the end of Slaughtered is an example where you've got these weird triplets that he's doing, with a double bass, like it's like, as Phil is like shouting "Do Sin," and the guitars sound fucking heavy. There was just no one like him.
Yeah, very unique for such a big influential band as well. Like, yeah. I suppose you could say, like someone who is a good at just keeping the groove but still being very complex at the same time is Thomas Hack from Meshuggah. Like he's on a whole other planet himself, but at the same time he's able to keep calm within the chaos, and sometimes that's purely by keeping the cymbals and the snare on like a 4/4 beat while the pedals are following the very bizarre musical structures of the guitar work. But yeah, I don't know, like I guess for people who aren't familiar with Vinnie Paul's work, everybody knows the song Walk, but that main riff that everyone knows, he's just doing just a very simplistic rock beat. But I think if there was anything else in that under that riff, it would just, he picked the perfect drum beat to be under that riff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And interestingly, Charlie Benante is a competent drummer, but it just doesn't sound right when he's playing that song. I've gone back and forth on it, watching some of those live clips that they've posted online, of the Pantera tribute act, and it's fine. If I were there, I'm sure I'd enjoy myself, but it just doesn't sound the same. I mean, let's ignore the guitaring because that is also an issue, but just direct side-by-side comparison of the way that Charlie plays those drums and the way that Vinny plays those drums, you can hear Charlie's doing his best to do the drum sequences justice, and I respect that, but it's not east. It's fucking miles away. It is like, I don't know. It's like seeing. Imagine you had some just dude off the street practicing kicks on a on a heavy bag, and you had Israel Adesanya. That's the difference to me between the two.
Yeah, I don't know what they're doing with that. Like, I don't keep up with it because I don't care. But
Yeah.
if there was, I think they came to Australia and played some like festival thing, and I didn't care. I didn't want to see it. Like, I got a few friends who are huge Pantera fans and Phil Anselmo fans especially, and they went, and that them and the person I'm speaking of in particular, he's good friends with them all, and he was just hanging out backstage with Phil and Rex, which was cool. Good for him to hang out with them, and
Yeah.
because they're friendly and this and that. But yeah, I don't know. Even if I had a free ticket, I wouldn't care. Like, I was a bit sort of the same like with Slayer. Like, I saw Slayer with the original lineup like when I was like 16, so I've got that over a few people, and I've seen them I think one more time after that. I think Bostaff was on the drums at that time, and then I saw them on that farewell tour, and same thing. Like, I knew what I was in for. I wasn't seeing Slayer. I was seeing what was left of Slayer. Kerry King and Tom Araya, just hanging out with a couple of mates, playing a few songs for the last time. And if they were to tour again, because they're playing those random one-off shows, yeah, Slayer I hold very dear, so I wouldn't not go see them if the tickets weren't crazy expensive. But I know that it's not Slayer. That's sort of what I'm getting at. Yeah, and same with Pantera. Like, I wouldn't like. It would take a lot for me to go see the Pantera cover band. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. No, I get where you're coming from. So, final verdict on Imperialist from me. I'd give them a thumbs up. They get the cold shoulder from Drew Goth. All right, Blood Monolith debut album streaming online. The Washington D.C. Northern Virginia death metal supergroup featuring members from bands such as Nails, Ulthar, Undeath, and Genocide Pact are streaming their newly released debut album, The Calling of Fire, in full on the Profound Law Records YouTube channel. Check it out below. When it comes to death metal like this, I call this vibe death metal because this is not something that when you're done listening to this album, it's only 27 minutes long total, but when you're done listening to this album, if it sounds like this, if everything sounds like this song, then there's not going to be a single riff or a single moment from the song that you're really going to remember. And like to me, there is something that's missing. Like the top tier death metal albums, in my view, whether they're modern releases or whether they came out in the early 90s, there are bits that stuck with me when I heard them the first time, and to this day there are entire songs that I can recite word for word. I'd never be able to do that with a track like this. And I don't want to sound like an old guy. I appreciate what they're doing here. It's very aggressive. Like I said, the vibe is cool. If I'm in the mood for it, I love this kind of music. But like it's never going to be in the ranks of the elite, in my opinion.
Yeah, I don't know. I was thinking about it before, like when you press play, I was like, everyone's gonna think I'm such a fucking, like, I just hate all this new shit. But I'm not. Like, this doesn't do anything for me. And same with that the last one that we listened to. Like, it's good for what it is, but I just don't care for it. And then like seeing this thumbnail, like, and all the people who are in the band, like when you said who is it, the bass player of Genocide Pact, like that.
Yeah, so you've got Shelby Lermo of Nails. He's the guitarist and vocalist. You got Tommy Wall of Undeath, Nolan of Genocide Pact, the bassist, and then Aidan Tidings Lynch of Deliriant Nerve and Brain Tourniquet. He's the drummer.
Yeah, like Genocide Pact, their demo and stuff was really fucking cool, and that's what drawed me to Genocide Pact in the first place, was the bass. Like, it was crushing, like really thick in the mix. But yeah, like even like that band is very simplistic sort of death metal, like caveman shit that I enjoy. But yeah, this doesn't do anything for me. Like, I'm not really into like the chaotic sort of death metal, but I know it's pretty hypocritical of me saying that because I love, Revenge, like, where that's just chaos on fucking horse meat and steroids.
So see, if I were to want to listen to something like this, one, I can go and listen to Cryptopsy, which to me does this 10 times better. I know we're going to get to a new Cryptopsy song in a second as well. They're referred to as black metal, but I would say Genocidal Rights, who just put out their genocidal upheaval of subservient Abrahamic law on Headbangers Ball, kind of gives me the same vibe, or Antichrist Siege Machine. It's that same violence, but Antichrist Siege Machine, they just drop those memorable bits all across the song that keep you interested. I like the biggest standout for me on this track is the fact that you've got that reverb voice noise right in the bit that we paused on, and that's about it. Everything else, like I said, is competent. Definitely understand people liking it, but it's not going to be something that I stick on the list and go, yeah, definitely have to check this out when it gets released, because this is a must listen. So yeah, that's kind of my view. I'm indifferent to it, which I shouldn't be. I should either go fuck yes, or completely hate it, which maybe it's at the very least it's going to make for entertainment on the news rant. If not, who knows? I might go back to it and say actually it wasn't so bad.
I won't. well, like you said, like where you're like, you liked that vocal effect thing. I don't remember that. You know what I mean? Like, it's nothing's memorable. And that's that's whether that's my fault or theirs, but yeah, it's
your fault.
It's my fault. Yeah.
Okay, so one thing that I did want to talk about very quickly, we are going to answer two questions, and there'll be some more questions next week, but there were two in particular I wanted us to cover on this installment of the News Rant. One has been, and I will throw my hands up here and say it's been sat dormant for a while, but LW Speakman, thank you for submitting it. The question is, what are your top 5 favorite Crowbar albums? I have a very definitive list, and I'm curious as to how much overlap there's going to be with yours, because I know you're a big Crowbar fan too. What have you got for your top 5?
Oh, albums. Okay, and these are in no particular order. Self-titled, of course.
Yeah.
Can't go past High Rate Extinction. I Have Failed. All I Had I Gave, etc. You were talking about what was it, covers or something on last week's episode, and I'd like to throw my hat in the ring. I don't care for covers at all, but the way Crowbar did that, I think it's a Led Zeppelin song, No Quarter, which is on the self-titled album. Fuck Led Zeppelin. The Crowbar song's version is better. So I'll
tell you what Crowbar covers really well too is Remember Tomorrow by Iron Maiden. Their Remember Tomorrow cover is magnificent.
Well, Iron Maiden, I don't care for at all. So fuck it. The Crowbar version is much better because
it's superior by default.
Yes, indeed. But so I got self-titled. These are in no order. For me, self-titled, Broken Glass, and Time Heals Nothing. They are the elite trio of dips. Like those 3 albums are just fantastic. I don't know. I think they're all about written in the space of 5 years, but yeah, they're fantastic. And then, shit, this is a hard question. A good question, but a hard question. I really like. I have a very soft spot for Sever the Wicked Hand. It's a very good album. Songs Liquid Sky and Cold Black Earth. That song. It's not my favorite Crowbar song, but it's definitely up there. And so, what have I got? I got one left. I really liked Symmetry in Black. Oh man, that's such a hard question. All right. Let's go. Self-titled, Broken Glass, Time Heals Nothing, Sever the Wicked Hand, and Symmetry in Black.
We've got overlap on 4. There's one that I would probably have in as my number 6, but I'll give you mine 5 through to 1. So at number 5, I would have Sever the Wicked Hand. At number 4, I would have Symmetry in Black. I think Symmetry in Black is, in terms of later career Crowbar, it's the best thing they've ever written. By far, the most complete Crowbar album. You've got heavy, you've got really emotional, you've got that really beautiful semi-acoustic song that I know I'm mispronounced this, but Amaranthine, absolutely incredible. I wish he would do more songs like that. Then self-titled, Crowbar, number 2, Broken Glass. Number 1, I'm very surprised you don't have this in there, but you probably know what I'm about to say, Oddfellows Rest. To me, the fact, if it's got December Spawn on, by default, it has to be number 1. My favorite Crowbar song ever. So yeah, that just was always. That's when I started the list. I started with number 1, and there was no question it was going to be Oddfellows Rest.
Yeah, I love that album, but a thing that really bugs me a little bit is I'm not really a fan of the snare sound on that album in particular, but it's not the worst, the worst snare sound. But I don't know, it's very What the question should be is what's your top 5 Crowbar songs, not albums. But even that would be stupidly difficult.
We can do a follow-up next time with top 5 Crowbar songs, but number 1 will be December Spawn.
Well, you've given it away, mate.
I have December. I mean, fuck it. I don't think anybody is gonna win any prizes for guessing. To to me, just that song has got, and Kirk is one of my favorite vocalists, but that song, I don't know what he was doing when he was fucking recording that, where the inspiration or the motivation came from for that particular performance, but he nails it in every possible conceivable category. Timing, emotion, the way that he puts inflection and accents on certain words, it is just absolute perfection.
I want to also mention the album The Serpent Only Lies. Like,
oh yeah, great
that album is fucking top notch. But I feel like it kind of got swept under the rug a little bit. But yeah, I back that album 100%. Sonic Excess. This is a fucking stupid question. This is killing me, mate.
Well, in fairness to Mr. L.W. Speakman, he did say it could be my top 10 if the top 5 is still hard, but I did want to step up the difficulty level there, because it needs to be a meaningful list. So the top 5, because you could basically just say, in my view, they've never put out a bad album, so it's about how you how you rank them, just period. I'll tell you another album that I really like, Life's Blood for the Downtrodden. I think that is an album that is massively slept on. Yeah,
no, I agree. Even Equilibrium, fantastic album. Obedience, I'm not really a fan of, but even Kirk, I think, says that that kind of counts as a demo. But it's still, there's some riffs in there, but yeah, I don't know. For me, it starts with self-titled, and I think that came out in like 92. So the year I was born. So that's the second best thing that happened that year.
You must be pretty pleased to hear that Down are making new music. Are you a fan of Down?
Man, like honestly, same with Kingdom of Sorrow. Like, I just can't seem to get into them. Like, I've tried to force myself.
Kingdom of Sorrow is excellent.
Man, even like the whole concept, like, you tell me, Kirk Winstein and Jamie Juster are doing a band. Like, it sounds too good to be true, but I just can't seem to get into it. I don't know why. Like, I try to force myself. I don't know. I can't get into it, man.
The song that hooked me into Kingdom of Sorrow, which if anybody hasn't heard, you've described the project now, but anyone who hasn't heard it, or anyone who's an unbeliever, check out a track off their first record called Grieve a Lifetime. That to me was the song that really hooked me into that band. And then with Down, everyone talks a lot about the first album, but for me, it's the second album. The second album as an end-to-end listen is a incredible experience. It should be widely regarded as a classic. Why it isn't, I don't know, but it is a phenomenal heavy metal album. Like, it's probably, in terms of just pure heavy metal, it's one of the best albums of the last fucking 3 decades. I was about to say 3 centuries, 3 decades. Anyway, let's listen to some more music. Inhuman Condition release second single, Face for Later. Inhuman Condition, the death metal trio featuring current and former members of Overkill, Deicide, Obituary, Death, and Massacre, has released the music video for their latest single called Face for Later. The track is taken from the band's forthcoming album Mind Trap, set for release on June the 27th via listenable Insanity Records.
Alive, I was born to the flayer.
that song instantly went from a it's all right to definite thumbs up. When not quite top notch yet, but definite thumbs up in that kind of middle bit that we just heard now. Like, it's so brazenly old school, and clearly Taylor's time with Deicide has come into the frame of this band, but that sounded fucking great.
Yeah, I'm chucking it out, mate. I'm saying it's a top notch.
Love the vibe of the music video as well.
Yeah,
old
man.
school pool skating, guys looking fucking badass.
Yeah,
good riffing. Yeah, very good.
Yeah, that's the death metal I like. Like, it's hard as fuck. There's skateboarding in the background. I'm pretty sure I follow that motherfucker with all the tattoos. I think his name's Scotty B or something. He's got that's in his backyard. He's got curbs and stuff. Yeah, he's a G. And then he's got death metal bands playing in his backyard pool. This is a top notch for me. This is sick as fuck. I'm checking this shit out for sure.
Have you seen? I mean, you must have seen some of the clips coming out with most of it was recorded last year, but Deicide, Wacken, Deicide, Brutal Assault. Fucking hell, that band sound good now. I don't know. They went through a period of time where it felt to me like when I saw Glenn on stage, he just wasn't really digging it. And now with Taylor in the band, I think the sort of Kevin, Steve, Steve's obviously a mainstay, but I think Kevin has found his feet in the band. It just feels like, they just feel live, at least, like a completely rejuvenated group. When they do In Hell I Burn and stuff like that, it's just like fuck yes. How cool is it that guys in their, most of them anyway, in their, early to mid 50s are still cranking out music like that and performing it with that level of intensity.
Yeah, I think it's they chose wisely. So it makes it stand out a lot more. And I agree, it looked like Glenn he was just going through the motion.
Yeah.
But now I think this additional youth added to the roster has really put a bit of pepper in his step, I think.
Yeah, agree. The other thing that I would say too is the use that they've brought, what they've brought back is a lot of the backing vocals and the multi vocals on stage. That makes such a difference.
Yeah, that is awesome.
there was a long period where it was just him, and he would kind of scream some of the parts, but you didn't have those backing vocals. And like the best Deicide show that I ever saw, I saw them with the original lineup about 4 or 5 times. But the best I ever saw them was the show that they recorded for Earache called. They actually put it out as a video called "When London Burns," and you can check it out on YouTube. They had Dave Suzuki on guitars and backing vocals. I can't even remember who the other guitarist was. I think it might have been Jack Owen. But Dave there, he was doing vocals with Glenn. It sounded so fucking badass. Every song just was lifted in its intensity. And now that they've got Taylor in the band and he's doing that, alongside Kevin, I might be alone in this, but that kind of, I like that vibe on stage. I want I want to kind of feel like something could pop off at any moment. I like that sort of that feel where it's just verging on anarchy on stage. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I agree. I love it, especially when both guitarists and bassists are all doing vocals, and they're all doing one's doing high, one's doing low, or whatever. I love that shit so much. I think it's so good. And I reckon
I'm the same.
I reckon we like it because we also like hardcore, the group shouts, whether it's from the crowd or whether it's the guitarists and stuff assisting the vocalist. I think that's why we're drawn to it. Not sound sappy or anything, but it's, I don't know. There's like a feeling of unity and inclusion. Like I find when I see multiple vocals sort of happening.
I agree. You saw, by the way, that I did bring up Icepick with Jamie. Try to coax him into Come on, mate, you do another album, but I feel like that ship sadly has sailed. It is though a violent epiphany. If you haven't properly listened to that album, you're missing out. It is like, as far as modern hardcore is concerned, it's one of the very best, if not my favorite.
If you haven't listened to it, you better sort your fucking shit out, mate.
Yeah. I mean, just that middle bit that I was talking to him about, where you've got, I think it's Creations of Chaos, Show of Force, and With One Ideal, just those 3 songs alone, fucking. I mean, name one hardcore band to do anything that badass. Like, I think the only band that could maybe come close is Terror, but the amount of attitude that Danny Diablo and Jasta inject into those songs, especially in the breakdowns, like with One Ideal. That part where Jamie is going like, a state of mind embodying the standard we know we must achieve. Fucking absolute genius.
I think the whole record is solid as fuck. Like you saying just those few in a row. Like,
no, and by the way, I mean the whole thing is great, but it's just got that middle bit that is just phenomenal.
Yeah, but you're missing out. Real recognizes real. Like, that's I can't go past
that is very cool.
That
is very, very cool.
With Ice-T, like, some of the shit he says wouldn't be really
permissible,
allowed in the year 2025, but fuck, it is tough as shit. Straight. What is that last line? He says, "Straight up explode your dome and go home." Holy fuck.
That song is also proof that the vast majority of hardcore songs benefit tremendously from a guest verse done by Freddie Madball.
Oh yeah,
he did. I don't know whether you ever heard the version. They only released it as the music video. That it was not the album version. But you know the Agnostic Front song, "So Pure to Me."
Yeah.
On the video version, they've got Freddie doing the second verse. Fucking hell! It takes the song from like a 7.5 to a 17.5. Just his presence.
Freddie's voice is so sick, and it's great. Yeah. Like, you hear it and you know exactly who it is. That's what I love about Madball as well. But Madball without Hoya, that kind of hurts my feelings a little bit. But you know, it is what it is. But Hoya's doing with Danny Diablo.
No.
Fuck, what are they called? Having a mind blank. Smoke AD.
I was just about to say Smoke something or other.
Yeah. Very cool EP. Very cool.
Yeah.
But hopefully more of that comes out.
For sure. Just getting back to Drew Goth, are you able to let us in on what the new music, what direction the new material is taking? Yes and no. Like, you know, I'm not reinventing the wheel, and I do whatever I want to do. You know, that's the whole spirit of Drugoth. But and I mean this not at all as an insult to Matt Prizzo, but he said, and it's always stuck with me. He said on the last album that he really enjoyed, and he thinks it got quite a lot of positive feedback because of the like mid-tempo stuff. And I was like, that's cool, man. Like, I appreciate, you know, like the kind words and, you know, everything, but kind of, it's just how I am. Like, you tell me like that's what the people like, I'm going to do the complete opposite. So that's all I'm going to say. Like, that's all I'm going to say. Like, it's if you liked Battles May Cease but War is Forever, you're going to like this. If you liked the We Are Legion split with Shograth, you're really going to like this. I don't know. It's just, it's Drugoth. We'll leave it at that. But when it's done, I'll shoot it your way early, no doubt. But yeah. The contrast between the fast and the slower parts on Battles May Cease but War of Forever was one of the big things. Like, one, riffs are incredibly hooky. Two, there were a lot of, you know, your hardcore sensibilities came in there with regards to breakdowns and things like that. 3 your drums were a hook. Like it's, you know, one of those few records where the drums stand out as, when I say few, I mean like one of those elite records where the drums actually become a hook as well. And, you know, 2 perfect songs for me off that record, Primordial Savagery and Triumph Born of Bloodshed. The last part of Triumph Born of Bloodshed is fucking absolute perfection.
Oh, thank you for the kind words. I'm glad you dig the riffs. That's cool, man.
But it's perfection because the rest of the song is fast. So when it goes into that break, and again, I think this is where whether you realize it or not, this is where your hardcore sensibilities come in. When it goes into that break, it sounds extra tough because it built up to that hook, or it built up to that as a high spot on the song.
All I'll sort of say is, you know, I listen to your podcast every week, and I pick up on a few things that I relate to as well with some of the things that you say. And one is you like your black metal especially to have a large amount of severity. That's always stuck with me ever since I remember you saying it. And that's sort of, if you like very aggressive black metal with a lot of severity, yeah, you know what I'm sort of going towards. There's no no acoustic guitars. We'll leave it at
that. No weeping by the riverside.
Oh no, there's none of that.
All right, Abigail Williams about to put out their 6th album. And the headline here reads that they've shared a new single. American black metalers Abigail Williams premiered the first single non-existent of their recently announced studio album, A Void Within Existence, coming out on July the 18th via Agonia Records. This has been a band that has really mostly passed me by. I know they've got a very devoted fan base, but I can honestly say I've never listened to an Abigail Williams song or album where I've gone, this is the best thing ever. So we'll see what I think of this. Are you an Abigail Williams fan?
No, not really. But I remember, you know, listening to, I think it was maybe their first or second album when I was a youngin', and it was like really produced, and they had a lot of, I think like they had a keyboardist or something, and then their later stuff is really stripped back and you know, very different from what I remember. But it'll be interesting to see, you know, what this is.
All right, let's listen. What are your thoughts?
I'm probably coming across as like, like Paul Ledney, where I just hate everything. You know what I mean? But
everything that's not a demo.
Everything that's not a demo. Shout out to him too. He's a G, and I love Pro Fanatica. But come on, man, listen to something. Step out of the comfort zone. But I'm not an Abigail Williams fan, but this song wasn't too bad. I didn't, for what it is, I didn't mind the contrast. You know what I mean? Like from the quiet sort of swooning sections, like nice ghost notes on the snare, and then into the big crescendo sections. Like, yeah, for what it is, I didn't mind it, but it's not really my cup of tea. But yeah.
So if I contrast this to Honoric, which we listened to right at the start, the lead guitars in the beginning of the song actually do add something. So rather than just kind of just noodling over the top of the main riff, it actually feels like they're essential to the song and the way that the song was constructed. When it speeds up that dense wall of sound, I think really, really works well. I would maybe, as a songwriter, have kept that up a little bit longer before going back into the atmospheric stuff. I feel like it kind of never quite gives you time to really get into it, to really sort of feel it, sort of there, and then it's back into the atmospherics again. The atmospheric stuff does work though, so I agree with you. I like the contrast. I'm not complaining. I think the atmospheric piece is written really well too. Something about this, it sounds very modern, and it's not just in the production. I don't know whether this is kind of intentionally looking at where a lot of more popular modern black metal bands are going and saying let's adjust our sound accordingly. But that being said, I mean, I've not listened. I would probably need to go back and listen to their previous stuff to be able to make that assessment fairly. It's just my instant impression. Overall, it's kind of verging on a thumbs up for me. There's a lot here that I like, but I kind of, before I get too excited about it, I need to probably spend a bit more time and listen to the whole song. Like the first 2 minutes it's not bad. It's not blowing me away.
I agree. Like, I don't want to say it's a thumbs up, but my interest has peaked. Like, if I stumble across this album when it comes out, I'll probably attempt to listen to it in its completion. But yeah, my interest has peaked. We'll leave it at that. But like I was saying before, it's not really the type of black metal I'm drawn to. But at the same time, when I'm, I don't know, hiking or driving through the mountains in fog, I don't want to be listening to like Beherit, you know what I mean? Like, so this would be suitable for that time. And it's not bad, but there's a very large lacking in protein, but I'll accept it.
There's too much caramel soy latte and not enough protein.
Yeah,
I wouldn't go as far as to say that, the caramel soy latte, but it definitely, as somebody who's not necessarily a fan, here's the two levels that it does succeed on. To your point, it makes me interested to hear what the rest of the record sounds like. Like this is definitely one, when it comes out, I'll give it a proper listen. Two, it kind of makes me think maybe I need to go back and check out some of those previous albums, because like I don't have a strong feeling towards them to where I dislike the band and are boycotting them. It's more a question of I've never had necessarily based on everything I've heard so far, I've never felt compelled to spend any amount of time with them. This potentially changes that. So on those two fronts, it's a success.
Agreed.
All right. Next song, Refusal, out of Finland, have dropped a brand new track. Death metal purveyors Refusal have recently put out a lyric video for Congregation of the Eyeless, the newest preview track off their oncoming studio record, Venomous Human Concept.
It started out half alright, but the more it went on, the more I wasn't disinterested. You know what I mean? Like, I thought the bass tone was sick. That's about it. Yeah, not for me.
Yeah, a couple of good groovy parts. Vocalist is very talented. I mean, he sounds convincingly pissed off. There's kind of a bit of a punky edge to the track as well. But I kept thinking of Fuming Mouth, which this band reminds me of an awful lot, and feeling like when it comes to that style of music in the modern age, Fuming Mouth does a better job. Based on I know they didn't record this at Sunlight Studios, but based on the guitar sound, all this makes me want to do is go back and listen to like an ever-flowing stream. It's like, there's just other records that have already been done that I would much rather listen to than this. It's not dreadful, but it's it's just, how do they distinguish themselves from the many other bands that have done things like this in the past, excuse me, and have done it better in my view?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm feeling more and more like Ledney again. I don't care for it.
You're wearing the Profanatica t-shirt, so it's well, I've saved what I hope is going to be the best for last. I have loved everything that has come off the new Cryptopsy, the forthcoming Cryptopsy so far. I fucking loved the previous Cryptopsy record. So it stands to reason that my expectations are very high for this one. Cryptopsy reveal a new track called Malicious Needs. It says here they've unveiled the music video for Malicious Needs, the second single from their upcoming 9th studio album, An Insatiable Violence, that is set for release on June the 20th via Season of Mist. Check out the video directed by Gornos below. Right, we're 2 minutes in. We're not going to watch the entire feature film of the music video, although I do like what I've seen so far. It's been fucking cool for me to see this band's confidence grow over the course of the last decade. Like, I feel like when they put out those Book of Suffering EPs, there definitely was, and Matt had spoken about this. Matt McGeachy, the vocalist, had spoken about this on the podcast when he was on as well. Yeah, I think they were struggling with confidence, and they were struggling with where they fit into the death metal scene, especially after all the stick that they received for The Unspoken King. You know, when they put out As Gomorrah Burns, the general response to that record was positive enough. I feel like they really got the wind in their sails, and they're like, fuck yes, this is what we should be doing. And then I think that's almost why they've come back as quickly as they have with An Insatiable Violence. There's a real hunger to this new music that it's not just hunger, but it's kind of like it's not a question anymore of that they want to prove themselves. With As Gomorrah Burns, it sounded like they wanted to prove themselves. Yeah, it's like we've already proven ourselves. Now we're going to show you what we can really do. They're operating from a place of strength rather than a place of necessity. Not to try and overcomplicate it, but for me, fucking great song, absolutely top notch. But I am just unapologetically, I wouldn't say biased towards Cryptopsy, but I mean, again, I'm one of the few people that actually thinks The Unspoken King was a great album. And I don't think there's anything in their catalog that I dislike. I get why people have such high expectations. None So Vile is one of the fucking best death metal albums ever released. So it's very, very difficult to live up to the legacy of something like that. Blasphemy Made Flesh is very close as well. But fucking hell, this band has put out a body of work that is superb. If you look at death metal, going all the way back to the old guard, they are definitely up there in my view with, and again, I know this is going to be an opinion that is not necessarily going to be held by the majority, but I don't give a shit. I think they're one of the most consistently excellent bands in death metal, bar none.
Yeah, I'm not really, sorry, rain on your parade.
You're not sold.
No, well, I've just never really went down the Cryptopsy path. You know what I mean? Like, I should by the sounds of that song. Like, it was pretty heavy, and for, I don't know, I guess it's not technical death metal, but whatever type of death metal it is, it was pretty good. Like that breakdown sort of thing they had going on, that was pretty cool. But yeah, I'm a fan of Flo, the drummer, for sure. Like his work, just like watching his stuff on YouTube and his session work and stuff like that. But yeah, this was pretty good. I'll have to rectify that and check out some of their material for sure. But yeah, the video was a bit of a punish, but that's all right. The music was good.
Yeah. No, as I said, if you want to get into them, I'd probably say start with None So Vile. That is just it came out in 1996. It is just a elite interpretation of this style of death metal. But it is certainly worth checking out As Gomorrah Burns, their previous record. This one I think is going to be excellent. They had a period with a vocalist named Mike DeSalvo that was sort of verging on them being death metal, but with hardcore style vocals. A lot of people didn't like it because it was so different to what Lord Worm had done, but I thought it was cool. I think of those two records that they put out, the record Whisper Supremacy is probably the best. But I just think they're a consistently interesting and a consistently exciting band. And totally agree with you. You talking about variation in drumming, that's how blasting drumming needs to sound. I mean, Flo is the dude is just an absolute drum god, in my opinion, when it comes to extreme metal in particular.
Yeah, like he had like a heap of ghost notes going on, which is especially in very high production death metal. How do I explain it? You could tell it was a human drumming, which I think makes this band stand out 10 times more. Like, there's nothing worse when they're like ghost notes were a very trendy sort of thing. I don't know, maybe the last 10 years. And some people can do them like proper, like this is a perfect example. But then some people, they try to like, with all the triggering and stuff and all the overproduction, they still try to make it come through and it just doesn't work. But this is a very, very good example of how it should be done. And even in that breakdown part, going back to it again, like it was simple, but there was still a lot of complexity going on.
Yeah.
Like cymbal choices and just the offbeat sort of fills and stuff. It was very impressive. I'll definitely keep an eye out for this new album for sure, and try to check out some of their previous stuff as well, like you were saying.
That has always been something that has been a hallmark of theirs, in my view. When they're at their best, they know when to rein in the chaos and just still still maintain a semblance of complexity, but have it enough to where you can properly get into it. It's something that'll stick with you when after the song is done, and then kind of they'll sort of throw you back into all of the technical stuff. I mean, they are a extremely technical band. I would argue more technical than an awful lot of technical death metal bands, and that's across the piece. It's not just Flo's drumming, but what they do that I think is very smart, and they've always done it. They know when to rein it in, and they know when to turn it on. And I think that's an admirable trait that a lot more bands would benefit from tremendously. All right, my friend.
There's no wanking.
Yeah, exactly. There's no they Phil Heath. Because I'm going to use a bodybuilding analogy, which may or may not make sense. I'm just thinking out loud. Phil Heath once made this comment about being in the gym and training, and he was like, "I don't have to train with heavy weights because the Ferrari knows that it's a Ferrari. It doesn't need to rev its engine." Like they know they can play their instruments, but they don't need to keep reminding you how well they can play it all the time. They know when to pull it back and they know when to show off.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, my friend, we are done. I want to say thank you once again for coming back on. You're always a very, very much in demand guest on the News Rant. So I know we haven't gotten to that other question, by the way, that we were gonna answer, but I'll save that for next week. Just because you and I spoke about it beforehand, I know what your input's going to be, so I'll do that on next week's show. But thank you very much for coming on. Definitely, let's do another one of these again at some point soon, and very much looking forward to hearing what this new Drew Goth sounds like. I've got very high expectations. I'm going to wrap up with an oldie but a goodie, one that potentially carries with it the Paul Ledney seal of approval. Off the album Master, the song is entitled Master, and the band, funnily enough, entitled Master as well. Friends, whatever it is that you are doing and wherever it is that you are, stay safe, stay healthy, and I'll see you bad motherfuckers again next week.
You're this evil world where the master's gone.